was bound to happen at some point. In their first season without Sam Hartman since 2018, Wake Forest saw their 7-year bowl streak come to an end with a 4-8 record. But rest assured, the Demon Deacons are reloaded on both sides of the ball, have an extremely underrated head coach in Dave Clawson, and they now have their eyes on setting a new streak this year. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. We're so glad you could join us today to break down our official Wake Forest football prediction. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below, including our website, thegridironexpert.com, home of our expert picks, some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country. You do not want to miss out on that, guys. Beating out over 80% of the national handicappers each of the last 6 years, hitting over 63% of our bets in our career. You do not want to miss out. Sign up today, and the earlier you sign up, the more exclusive content you get. So the link for that, again, down in the description below, along with our newsletters, and along with our mailing address to send us some of your team's gear so we can feature your team, whoever it may be, feature them in every single Gridiron Expert video. We'd love to have you do that and become a member of our GE Nation. So Wake Forest. Again, Dave Clawson, I think, continuously has done more with less. They're not a football powerhouse by any means. They have not really been a contender in the ACC, but he has made them one. He has consistently had them in bowl games, which is more than Wake Forest fans could hope for. Last year, it looked like without Sam Hartman, they might do the same. They get 8 straight bowls, started the year at 3-0, but then went 1-8 down the stretch with 3 heartbreaking one-possession losses to Clemson, Duke, and Syracuse. You look at what's coming back this year, 8 starters back on offense after averaging just 20.3 points per game last year. That was a major reason for their struggles. They do add a veteran quarterback to the transfer portal, Hank Bachmeier, transferring in from Louisiana Tech, but most probably know him well for his time at Boise State, where with 4 years with the Broncos, he threw for over 6,600 yards and 41 touchdowns. Damon Claiborne returns at running back after rushing for over 580 yards last year. Taylor Morin is back at wide receiver, over 600 yards last year with the Demon Deacons. And they get a healthy Donovan Green, who has battled injuries throughout his career. If he can stay healthy, he easily could become the top target for Hank Bachmeier this season. But the biggest thing for Wake Forest is their offensive line. They have to improve up front in the trenches. The Demon Deacons gave up 49 sacks in 2023. 3 starters are back, though, on the offensive line. Those numbers should improve. It should give their quarterback time to deliver, and therefore all the numbers for Wake Forest should improve drastically, going from 20 points per game to maybe, hopefully, at least a touchdown better. Defensively, 7 starters are back. That could be the strength of the team for the Demon Deacons. Their leading tackler, Dylan Hazen, returns at the linebacking position. They have a very senior-led defensive line that should generate a lot more pressure than what we saw last year. The Demon Deacons just had 23 sacks in 2023, 10 of those coming in one game against Old Dominion. So the trenches, the offensive line, the defensive line, struggles majorly for Wake Forest last year. Both should be significantly better in 2024. That defensive line is going to be led by their star, Jasheen Davis. And again, I think this is a team that in the secondary could be a little bit better. A pretty young cornerback core, but the safeties not too bad. So across the board, Wake Forest looks like a much better team on paper. The question is, can it transition to wins on the field and maybe starting a new bowl streak in 2024? You take a look at what they're up against. I will say right now, I think they start 2-0. I think the schedule lines up good for them to get in there, break in with Hank Bachmeier, break in with some of the new key pieces, hopefully get Donovan Green back and knock off some of the rust after his injuries. The defensive line, the offensive line doing very well against NC and then getting a conference win against Virginia. This game might be a little bit closer than you think, but Wake Forest has won 5 straight against the Cavaliers. Virginia gave up 185 rushing yards per game last year, and while the Cavaliers will certainly be more competitive than they were last year, and they were relatively well last year, 5 one-possession losses for Tony Elliott's squad, Wake Forest, with home field advantage, gets the job done. They get off to a strong start just like they did last season. They then take on Ole Miss at home. I'm telling you, Ole Miss, go ahead and chalk it up as a loss. The Rebels are a college football playoff contender. That's how good Lane Kiffin's team is this year. And quite frankly, I just don't think Wake Forest defense is ready to handle this type of offense. The Rebels averaged over 35 points per game last year. They returned their star quarterback in Jackson Dart, a plethora of weapons in Jordan Watkins and Trey Harris, 10 starters back on defense. The Rebels are SEC title contenders. They are playoff contenders, and Wake Forest, from a experience standpoint and from a talent standpoint does not have what it takes to slow down this Rebels team. So they will lose that game. They are 2-1. Get a bye week in mid-September. Come out of it. Beat Louisiana. Probably would have rather had that bye week come before a conference game, but hey, take what you can get. They're 3-1 heading into the month of October and heading into the bulk of ACC play, and that's where the season will be made, right? That's where Wake Forest will either clinch bowl eligibility and start that new streak or fall just short once again, and I guess technically start a new streak. It'd be 2 straight years without a bowl game. The streak's a streak. It's a matter of whether it's positive or negative. They go on the road to NC State to kick off the month of October. I can go ahead and chalk that up as a loss. NC State is an ACC title contender this year. The Wolfpack won 26-6 last year. These two teams played every year since 1910, one of the longest running series in all of college football. But NC State loaded. Grayson McCall transferring in from Coastal Carolina. Jordan Waters transferring in from Duke. They've got some great wide receivers. They've got a stingy defense. Even though they lose Peyton Wilson, it's going to be a very strong defense for the Wolfpack this year. Factor in that NC State is 22-4 at home over the last 4 years. Not an easy place to play. Dave Doran's squad gets the job done over Dave Clawson's squad. NC State gets the win, 3-2 for Wake Forest. Then they take on Clemson. Mark that up as a loss as well. Even though they played Clemson very close last year, only lost 17-12, this is a completely different Clemson team. What we mean by that is I think the energy and the culture has been changed at Clemson just a little bit. They've been down on their luck a little bit. Last year, a disappointment. They haven't made the college football playoff in years. They've got to find a change. And I think this is the year they do it. They are loaded on offense. Year 2 under Garrett Riley as offensive coordinator. Cade Klubnik is back. Phil Maffa is back. They've got a great wide receiver core. The defense is arguably the best in the ACC, one of the best in the country. So even though Wake Forest gets to host the Tigers, even though they've played them close over these last couple of years, they do once again fall short to arguably the best team in the ACC. So a 3-1 start quickly turns into a 3-3 start at the halfway point of the year. We'll put them back above 500 with a win over UConn. Not much to discuss there. UConn, I think, will struggle a little bit again in 2024 after that miracle season in 2022. So at 4-3, over the halfway point, they are just 2 wins away from a bowl game. Not bad for Dave Clawson's squad. Not bad for the Demon Deacons, sitting at 4 wins, already matching last year's win total. That counts for something, absolutely. They then go on the road to Stanford. Back-to-back road games, one a little bit closer than the other. Going to Stanford, they have to go over 2,300 miles to take on the Cardinal. And it's ridiculous that we're going to see an ACC game, an Atlantic Coast game, being played out on the Pacific Coast. Crazy how that works in my eyes. But look out for Stanford. This is a trap game for Wake Forest. And I believe that the Demon Deacons are going to fall victim to this trap. The Cardinal return 18 starters this year. That passing game for Stanford, I think, is going to take a major step forward with Ashton Daniels under center. Going to be significantly better than we saw last year. The Cardinal defensively will be significantly better than we saw last year. Still not enough to maybe reach a bowl game or be true contenders in the ACC. But Stanford at home, with their top 3 back as pass catchers for Ashton Daniels, I think they get the job done. I truly do. This is a team that was a little bit better than their record showed last year, and that was in year 1 under Troy Taylor. A long road trip for Wake Forest. That's certainly going to play a role for the Demon Deacons. Stanford pulls off the mini upset. Wake Forest takes an unexpected loss, 4-4, a loss that could come back to haunt them when it comes to their bowl eligibility quest, because they come out of that bye week, the final 4 weeks of November, and you look at how tough the schedule is. They got California coming to them. That's huge. But then at North Carolina, at Miami, and then a home game against Duke, a Duke team that is in year 1 under Manny Diaz, but maybe won't be as bad as people think. Coming out of the bye, they take on California. Both teams are off a bye at this point, I should say. So Cal's well-rested. Wake Forest is well-rested. This is an underrated California team. They've got 2 very capable quarterbacks in Chandler Rogers, a transfer from North Texas, and then, of course, Fernando Mendoza, who played plenty last year for the Golden Bears. Jaden Ott is one of the best running backs in the ACC already, despite California being in their first year in the conference. And I'm afraid Wake Forest defensively, especially with that defensive line, although we do think it's going to improve, might struggle to slow down this offense. And that sounds crazy to say with Cal, who typically hasn't had strong offenses under Justin Wilcox. I think California is able to handle the long road trip. They're getting that week of rest prior, so they're going to be well rested for it. The offense does their job. I think they own the offensive advantage. Defensively, I think they own the advantage. The only way they don't have it is home field advantage, and the Golden Bears and Justin Wilcox can overcome that. So give me California to pull off a maybe mini upset, although I think the Golden Bears would be slightly favored in this game. I'm afraid that Wake Forest will drop their next 2 games on the road at UNC. Omarion Hampton going to have a big day on the ground. Just because they lost Drake May does not mean North Carolina is going to become irrelevant. The Tar Heels will still be a force to be reckoned with in the conference. Miami going to be the same exact way. You might not be buying the hype, but Miami's loaded with talent. Cam Ward, Damian Martinez, Xavier Restrepo, and significantly improved defense, at least one that should be significantly improved, even though they weren't all that bad last year. This is the year that I think Mario Cristobal's Hurricanes finally break through. Wake Forest, in my eyes, is certainly not going to go on the road, especially on the road, and beat the Hurricanes. So with those 2 losses, Wake Forest can no longer go bowling. They are out of bowl contention. Their season finale at home against Duke. They're playing for pride. They're playing for their seniors. And I do think Dave Clawson's squad, which always plays with pride, always plays with heart, gets the job done. They will defeat Duke. This might not be a game that means much for either team. Both these teams might be out of bowl contention at this point. Another disappointing season for both of these programs. But Wake Forest comes through, gets the job done. Duke's offensive line is going to struggle mightily in 2024. This could be a game where that Wake Forest defensive line finally has themselves a big day. Maybe not as big as that Old Dominion game last year, but enough to wreak havoc on Malik Murphy and a lot of new pieces for the Blue Devils. Dave Clawson's squad gets it done, and they finish the year with a 5-7 record. You look at this schedule, guys. It's tough. Ole Miss is tough. NC State, Clemson, UNC, Miami, all very, very difficult games. We have them at 5-7, meaning we believe Wake Forest is one upset away or one win away from clinching bowl eligibility. And ironically, if they're going to get it, it's going to come against Stanford or California. It's coming against one of the West Coast teams, coming against one of the newcomers in the ACC. If everything goes like we believe it's going to go, they are a win over Stanford or a win over California from getting back to the postseason. I'm not saying it can't happen. It absolutely could with Clawson calling the shots here. But I think the Demon Deacons, with this young of a team, and still a lot of question marks up front in the trenches, that's the biggest concern. Line of scrimmage play, I think they fall just short. Another losing season, but maybe next year is the year that they finally get back on track. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home of our expert picks. The earlier you sign up for those, the better. Do not miss out on that. And our exclusive newsletters, everything there, again, down in the description below. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.